afternoon. It's 7 o'clock and it's time for Windy News Compilation. Coming up, NDC flag bearer John Dramani Mahama criticizes MPP government for selective development. Speaker of Parliament Alban Babin adjourns Parliament again after setting record straight in earlier standoff. And on the international arena, Botswana to legalize undocumented Zimbabweans, says President. My name is Nana Ama Nyameke Baini. Now the news in detail. Health experts are advocating vigilance and urging Ghanaians to ensure proper hygiene in order to prevent the cholera outbreak. On Radio Windy Bay, November 6, Director of Health Service at the University of Education Hospital, Dr. John Yamba, who gave the caution, added that the public should be mindful of not eating contaminated food.
So the source of water may be theoretically pure, but in our handling, it becomes contaminated. And that is why we are saying that as far as possible, your drinking water, as of this time, should be from the purest source or you boil it. At the very least, boil it before you drink, especially in places where water is a problem. That's the education we want our people to know. That yes, you can go and buy your water, but in this handling, you may still be at risk of getting cholera. So cholera is a disease not only for health. It's for sanitation, it's for environmental health, for district assembly, it's for you, it's for the politics, it's for everybody. So everybody has to do their bit for us to curb it.
Away from that, Vice President and new Patriotic Party flag bearer Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia has announced plans to develop 3 major railway lines across Ghana, aiming to accelerate the nation's transformation and bolster its economic growth. Speaking to stakeholders in the Achima Mpunia constituency on Monday, Dr. Bawumia emphasized the critical role that railway infrastructure will play in leveraging Ghana's rich mineral resources and enhancing connectivity. Despite the ongoing construction of numerous road projects, Dr. Bawumia stressed the necessity of balancing both railway and road infrastructure to achieve sustainable development.
In the context of Ghana, railway development, meaning say you were bauxite, not only railway a highway, but the railway no bar there are 3 major lines in the context of Ghana, from Accra Tema to Kumasi, from Kumasi to Takoradi, from Awasi through Nyinahene to Eduade. Yeah, we are going to do that railway for you. In the context of Ghana.
And also flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, John Dramani Mahama, has criticized the governing New Patriotic Party for allegedly prioritizing development in regions based on their electoral support. He argues that this approach neglects areas that did not favor the MPP in election, suggesting it undermines equitable development across the country. Mahama made these remarks during his tour of the Oti region on Monday, November 4. Addressing these concerns, John Mahama condemned what he described as regional disparities in resource allocation, pledging to prioritize development in the Oti region if elected president again.
It is any another kind. We share 2020 manifesto na ewum. We share 2024 manifesto esa ewum. Yes, 6 new regions no. And your man 9 ehia say yebesi say nebeya obi abehu say regional pa. Nedi kan a regional hospital. MPP ka say ombeba besi regional hospital. As I say no enkurane wo ene nkotre ene nenam so. Omabesi Plywood Hospital, the plywood at Jehu. Now, money my currency of regional hospital number. So, to about 2020, Omanya Kachi EC to know, and one no hospital aka. so NDC dey antisa. NDC antisa. Ogo Ashanti region abani bebre yenya. Nso yanka se yento abamai nti etwe omodwa.
The president of Ghana Bar Association, Ifwagati, has urged that the upcoming December election be conducted with transparency, fairness, and integrity. Speaking at her swearing-in ceremony alongside the newly appointed executives of the Ghana Bar Association, Mrs. Gatti stressed the critical role of legal professionals in upholding democratic principles during election periods. She also commended lawyers for their contributions to educating the public on electoral matters, which she noted has been partly achieved through handling high-profile cases in the court.
Our collective efforts will definitely yield results as we remain resolute in our resolve not to shortchange ourselves where our environment is concerned. As we move towards our general elections on the 7th of December 2024, I commend the significant role lawyers have played in educating the populace on the entire electoral process through the well-fought cases handled in the courts, especially the televised election petitions heard by the Supreme Court in 2013 and 2021. The media has been helpful in bringing court proceedings to our doorsteps. These elections should be handled in a transparent, free, and fair manner.
Now to Parliament. The Speaker of Parliament, Honourable Alban Kingsford Sumana Babin, has clarified that the current parliamentary standoff does not amount to a constitutional crisis as being propagated by many. According to the Speaker, the seemingly standoff was just a part of the democratic system which has been evoked and must be allowed to work. Addressing the media in Accra on Wednesday, November 6, in what can be described as setting the record straight, Speaker Babin emphasized that the situation is a constitutional matter under control and urged the public to remain calm. The impasse follows a recent Supreme Court ruling that dismissed Babin's attempt to reverse an earlier decision preventing him from declaring 4 parliamentary seats vacant.
There is no constitutional crisis in this country. I repeat, there is no constitutional crisis in this country. The Parliament of Ghana is alive and working. Let nobody mislead, misinform, or disinform you and the country. The democratic system we adopted and enacted, as captured in the Constitution 1992 and fleshed out in various laws, processes, procedures, and practices, is what has been triggered, and it is working. Let us allow it to work. Democracy is about the rule of law. Let the law work. The democratic system we adopted and enacted recognizes that in the course of operationalizing the system, disagreements will occur and challenges and problems will arise. The system has put in place mechanisms, structures and institutions, processes, procedures and rules to follow and apply to resolve the disagreement, convert the challenges into opportunities, and provide solutions to the problems. This is what is being pursued and applied.
Speaker Babin further clarified that his mission is to see the lawmaking house become a stronger institution than what he has inherited. He emphasized that the House was adjourned due to lack of quorum to take decisions, created by a walkout stage by the MPP members over a disagreement. He has thus called on the public to stop the fear-mongering and allow the system to work.
I have served Parliament and the people of Ghana continuously for over 32 years as a politician and over 42 years as a public servant. I cherish the role Parliament plays in our democracy, and my mission is to leave Parliament a stronger institution than I met it. Parliament is alive and working. It has not been dissolved, prorogued, prohibited, suspended, or terminated. The plenary sitting and meetings of Parliament were adjourned indefinitely due to lack of quorum to take decisions created by a walkout staged by the MPs. Let us stop pressing the panic buttons and fear-mongering and allow the system to work. Anger and indecent language rather inflames the situation. There can be no democracy without patience, tolerance, discipline, collaboration, the love for one another.
Touching on the genesis of the impasse, the Speaker said the suit before the Supreme Court not only raises legal questions but also a profound implication for the country's democratic system.
What led to this disagreement? Following a statement by Honorable Dr. KCL Atuba-Forson on a matter he considered to be of urgent public importance on the 15th of October 2024, and comments thereof by other members as permitted by the standing orders of Parliament, I communicated the findings of my inquiry into the matter as the Speaker of House on the 17th of October 2024. The contents of which has been construed to be a ruling. The Honorable Alexander Afenyo-Markin disagreed vehemently with the contents of my communication from receiving and making any pronouncement on the subject matter of the statement made by Honorable Dr. KCL Atuba-Forson until the final determination of the matter by the Supreme Court. The rest, we see, is history. Ladies and gentlemen, being a party to the suit in my official capacity, I am mindful of what I say. But it must be said, the suit before the Supreme Court raises not just legal questions, but more importantly, has profound implications for our democratic system of governance.
The Speaker Babin indicated that the powers of the judiciary end where the nose of Parliament start. To him, both the President and the judiciary have sinned against the 1992 Constitution by speaking to poke their nose in the affairs of Parliament and called on them to repent.
And the judiciary have sinned against the Constitution and must seek the opportunity to confess and repent to be forgiven. I am confident the battles we are fighting today will make our democracy stronger and more vibrant in the future. I believe in the supremacy of the Constitution. Mark my words. the supremacy of the Constitution, not the supremacy of the judiciary or Supreme Court. I also believe in a vibrant parliament that is respected and accorded its due on political questions. I believe that parliament was one of the institutions President Barack Obama had in mind when he opined, while in Ghana in 2009, that Africa needs strong institutions and not strong men, the oversight function. No other person or body has the gravitas and constitutional mandate to do so in Ghana. The public, media, civil society, and other partners in governance can make constructive inputs and criticize actions and omissions of arms of government. But these bills are not constitutionally and legally structured and mandated to hold the executive to account.
Finally, expressing surprise at the alacrity at which the Supreme Court intervened in the matter, Alban Babin, without mincing words, charged the Supreme Court to apply the same swiftness in how the case relating to the 4 seats that were declared vacant was handled. To the case involving the anti-LGBT bill, the Speaker further noted that the executive and the judicial arms of government are seemingly colluding to weaken Parliament.
The ruling was in favor of the majority group then. It was not an act of lawlessness as to cause constitutional crisis. When I ruled in the matter of the vacation of seats by Honorable Kennedy Ajapong, Honorable Henry Korti, and Honorable Sarah Adjoa Safo, the question of the interpretation of the Constitution was not raised. When my predecessor declared the former seat vacant in 2020, applying the same provisions of Article 97, the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court to interpret and enforce provisions of the Constitution was not invoked. Peace reigned in these instances, and nobody cried and ran to the Supreme Court under the guise of constitutional interpretation. If I may ask, is it a legal matter for the Supreme Court to decide as to which side of the House constitute the majority or minority? It is for good reason that justice is said to be blind, and further, that justice must not only be done, but must be seen to be done in all cases. Bill passed by Parliament, which has been pending before the same court for almost a year without being heard. Ladies and gentlemen, consistency is not just an ideal, but the foundation of life. The court cannot enjoin 4 members of Parliament from serving their constituents for 12 weeks, but was very eager to deny the constituents of Asenoff their representation because of the issue of allegiance. In 3 months to the holding of a general election. It's in the Constitution. Ladies and gentlemen, the Parliament of Ghana shall commence sitting as by law prescribed from tomorrow, November 7th, 2020.
Away from Parliament, the MPP has expressed strong optimism that they will secure victory in the upcoming December 7 general elections. According to the party, just as voters in the United States have elected the Republican Party in the just ended U.S. election, Ghanaian voters will reflect similar support in their favor in the upcoming December 7th polls. In a statement issued on Wednesday, November 6, the MPP highlighted its long-standing close relationship with the Republican Party, noting shared values such as the elephant symbol, political orientation, and ideological alignment. The party further noted that this connection is reinforced by both U.S. President Trump and Ghana's Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, who share a commitment to implementing bold solutions for their respective countries. But is that what Ghanaians want? Windy News took to the street to find out.
Well, the U.S. elections were a surprise to some of us because we followed the campaign, the various rallies and the speeches, and one could see the mood of the electorate. But you see, that is a system. Their system is the electoral college system, where a state can have about electoral votes of about 16, 15, 8, 3. So you win the states, you get 3 points. So out of the 270 maximum that you needed to have, Trump crossed it with those big, what they call the battleground states. So he got it. But it tells you that the Americans hold on to something that they cherish.
That he was, is it a mate, not necessarily a driver. So Ghanaians will give it to a driver who can drive them because he has learned his lesson, he has the experience, and I don't think that he will be coming to repeat whatever that has happened because this is your last chance. It is a chance to make sure that your legacy is well put in place. So you wouldn't repeat, we wouldn't say everything will be perfect, but history is likely to repeat itself as it has happened in America. I'm sure it's likely to happen in Ghana because of this scenarios and examples I've given you. Thank you.
Now, the National Democratic Congress has congratulated Donald J. Trump on his recent victory in the U.S. presidential election, marking his return to the White House after his defeat by Joe Biden in 2020. In a statement, NDC General Secretary Fifi Abikwete described Trump's win as a positive development for the NDC as Ghana approaches its own presidential election on December 7, 2024. Fifi Abikwete drew parallels between the U.S. election and Ghana's upcoming polls, noting that just as American voters chose experienced leadership, Ghanaians are likely to reject the current government record of insensitivity, corruption, and economic mismanagement. He reaffirmed the NDC's commitment to restoring stability, integrity, and renewed hope to the country and positioned the party as the viable alternative for voters seeking change in Ghana's political landscape. Still on the NDC has raised concerns over the certified voter register provided by the Electoral Commission, claiming that essential voter data required to verify its accuracy and credibility is missing. This issue was brought to light by Dr. Edward Omanebuama, the NDC's Director of Elections and IT, who expressed these concerns shortly after the release of the certified register to political parties on Wednesday, November 6. Dr. Omanebuame asserted that the absence of critical data from the voter register compromises its credibility and hinders the verification process. According to him, the omission of these details makes it challenging for political parties to conduct thorough checks on the voter database and ensure its integrity for the upcoming elections. Going back to Parliament again, where Speaker of Parliament Alban Baben has for the second time adjourned the House indefinitely due to the absence of business for lawmakers to deliberate on. Following the failure of the Business Committee to meet and prepare the necessary agenda for the floor, the recall session initiated by the Majority Caucus had been expected to address several critical issues. However, as the Majority Caucus failed to appear in the chamber, Speaker Babin expressed disappointment, noting that the lack of their presence stalled proceedings. In his address to the House on 7th November 2027, Babin highlighted that without committee input and an agenda, the session could not proceed as planned. Let's take a listen.
Signed on their behalf by the second Deputy Majority Whip, Honorable Alex Tete Jodubois. In fact, both requests were signed by him. Honorable members, I had under...
Meanwhile, the Majority Caucus, who expressed disappointment in the Speaker's decision, described the second adjournment as unnecessary and undemocratic. Let's first listen to K.T. Hammond, Member of Parliament for Adanse Asokwa.
Has been stayed by the Supreme Court, which interprets the Constitution, interprets what we do over here. Accordingly, the status quo ante should be reverted to. So when we know that we are going back to this, why should the NDC guys rush to go and sit on the side of the NDC bank? What is that? No, but that is not the point. Where were they sitting? Where were the NDC voting? No, you are not listening to me. You are not listening to me.
The leader of the MPP caucus, Alexander Afenyomakin, raised concerns over Speaker Babin's stance on the seating arrangement in the House. According to him, the Speaker is overseeing disorder in Parliament by allowing the National Democratic Congress caucus to occupy the majority side of the House, which he claims is not their rightful place.
Supervising chaos and bringing the image of democracy to disrepute. The NDC minority members were all over claiming that we, the majority, did not attend a so-called business committee meeting that they called. Who are they? When did we constitute a new committee in Parliament? I chair the business committee.
But the Minority Caucus welcomed the Speaker's decision, apportioning blame to their friends from the other divide for failing to come to the chamber. Here is Dr. Castle Atufosin speaking to the media.
1123 and order 53 of our standing orders and failed to show up. 2, we left our busy schedule, suspended our campaigns and reported to duty this morning, only to see that the MPP members of Parliament who actually recalled Parliament, we noticed that they failed to show up.
But how did the man at the center of this whole drama in Parliament see the Speaker's ruling? The media interacted with Haruna Idrisu, who evoked the vacant seat saga.
We recognize as a country that the three co-equal organs of government perform distinct and separate functions. I've stated Article 97 well. You must read the text well. The text reads, a member shall vacate his seat. Simple. A member shall vacate his seat.
Now to the international arena. Botswana's new president has told the BBC that he wants undocumented Zimbabweans to be legalized by granting them temporary work and resident permit. Dumabuku told the BBC Africa Daily Post before his historic inauguration on Friday. Botswana holds the world's second largest community of Zimbabweans fleeing their country's economic woes, and they are often resented with deportations taking place daily. The decision is not likely to be popular in the diamond-rich southern African nation, but Boku, 54 years, who has just unseated the ruling party that was in power for 58 years, said it was part of his plans to revive their economy. And a senior Democrat says Trump may offer to UK a lane that eases trade between the two allies, as Donald Trump is expected to deliver on his pledge to raise tariffs on imported foreign goods. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy tells the press at the U.S. Embassy in London. Murphy, who knows Trump personally, also foresees there being less of a lane for the EU and NATO. The prospect of an ad hoc deal for the UK has been echoed by Reform UK leader Nigel Farage, who says he is supremely confident that with the right negotiations, the UK can avoid trade tariffs. Before we end the news, a recap of the stories that made headlines. NDC flag bearer John Dramani Mahama criticizes MPP government for selective development. Speaker of Parliament Alban Barbin adjourns Parliament again after setting record straight. And on the international arena, Botswana to legalize undocumented Zimbabwe, says President. And that will be all for today's Windy News compilation. Join us same time next week for another edition. Thank you to my producer Samuel McCarthy. The news presented by Nana Ama Nyamike Baini. Thank you for doing the listening and enjoy the rest of your weekends.
Windy.